up there, up onto the Binion Ridge. It's about a kilometre long. I'm going to camp up on that summit and try and finally decide once and for all whether or not the Rab Ridge Raider is a tent worth keeping. Ow! Stood in something sharp. So not only am I going to be using a very small tent tonight, I'm also using quite a small backpack. I'm only using about 25 litres of storage space. My base weight for the kit I've got with me is only 5.5 kilos. This is my first time up into the Mourne Mountains in what feels like a very long time. It's about an hour before sunset, so I'm just running along here to try and find somewhere good to camp up. I want to find somewhere that's slightly sheltered but not too sheltered, because if it's completely out of the wind, I'll get eaten alive by the midges. And ooh.
So it's not clickbait, this mouse really will haunt you, and I'll explain why shortly. So I stumbled across the Precision Gaming Gear Titan 1 on Reddit, of all places, and the post I read is linked below if you're interested in the details. So this is a mechanical engineer's passion project, and if you look through their post history, they've made some other mice in the past too, all with precision and pen grips at their core philosophy. The bottom line is, the chap that built this mouse is fucking awesome, and thank you Olaf for sending me the unit for this review. The Titan 1 is the Precision Gaming Gear brand's first release, and as the name suggests, it is made of titanium, which is pretty unique actually. Most metal mice are made of magnesium. The mouse shell is 3D printed, and I had no idea you could 3D print with titanium as a material. It's pretty cool. The mouse weighs 22 grams, which is the lightest in my collection by a long shot actually, and the shell was optimized by an algorithm in order to remove all unnecessary material without impacting structural integrity, and the mouse feels rock solid in my experience. You know, that algorithm really worked. It has a left click, a right click, and a scroll wheel, but no mouse 3 or side buttons. It is also wired, and the cable runs out of the back of the mouse, so it comes out to the left, which I found to be a little bit awkward if I'm honest. I'm still working on ways to manage that without it getting in the way. I'm also not a huge fan of the scroll wheel. You know, it doesn't have an awful lot of grip on it. It did break in a bit over time, and I'm glad it has a scroll wheel, but it isn't a great implementation. The PCB is a 3360 sensor with hot swappable switches that are hardwired debounced for a 0 millisecond response time. So I'm going to shamelessly read a section of the creator's Reddit post now, because I can't write it any better than he did. So, quote marks here. Modern mice already have less than 1 millisecond of electronic latency. So I found another way to reduce the felt click lag, and the answer is mechanical latency. In this mouse, you don't actually press down the micro switch, you release it. With a bit of mechanical wizardry, you can activate your Mouse 1 micro switch around 10 milliseconds faster than a Razer Viper 8K, as an example. Now that all sounds very clever, and I have no way of testing this. But I love the engineering that's gone into it, and you can really see the mechanical background shining through here. So if you look closely at the back of the mouse, you can see when I click the mouse switch is released. And that is such a cool click mechanism. Runs all the way through the mouse to the back. It's so clever. So that's all the specs and mechanisms explained. I'll give you a quick tour of the mouse now. And as you can see, the right click switch is on the side of the mouse. And this feels quite strange initially, but within an hour of use, I've got used to it and felt completely comfortable using it. I was surprised to realise that actuating this switch took minimal effort and didn't actually knock my aim off target, which was a concern at the start. It's designed to be held like a pen, and although it kind of succeeds there, I find I hold it in a different grip due to comfort and the position of the sensor. I typically hold a pen with a slight twist in my wrist, but if I do that with this mouse,